All right, welcome to third video, second review of the evening. Up this time is Riven, aka Riven 2024. Yes, publishers and developers are still doing this shit. And I'm gonna still complain about it. It's like, I guess in this case there is a distinction because the original Riven had a full title.
Yeah, the original Riven's full title was Riven, the sequel to Myst.
Yeah. And this is just called Riven. So while incredibly lazy, you get off on a technicality here, Riven 2024. And with that in mind, to play the other game, remaster, remake, reimagining, what kind of are we talking about here? In the case of Riven, it's pretty straightforward. This is a full-on remake. It's basically the same game. Galax will get into the particulars of that statement
It's
in a
the
bit
same
here.
game with 100% less disc swapping.
Indeed.
Among other things, yes. So
Yeah.
the original Riven and Myst were static screen adventure games, right?
Yes, that's because, especially Myst, it was based off of this technology called the HyperCard. Maybe we'll do the Computer Chronicles episode on that one day, but I think Riven was more emulating that style than actually using the technology there because it was 1997 and things had advanced.
But it snapped between fixed perspectives.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of just how Myst was done in the 90s.
Right.
The thing that set Riven apart was it's a lot more detailed. Like, Riven was probably the most advanced and prettiest adventure game of the age. Because, you got to remember, Myst was, up until The Sims, the best-selling computer game of all time. And that was just the PC. Myst is one of those games that if you had an optical drive, you probably got Myst. Like, Myst showed up on things like the CDI and the, I want to say, the Jaguar CD.
There was a lot of computer retailers that were bundling this in with computers that had optical drives. That's how I got my first copy of Myst.
Yeah, you could get Myst off of a National Scholastic pamphlet. Remember those?
I remember the Scholastic Book Fair.
Yeah. Because, Myst was, I guess, ostensibly educational, even though it wasn't actually presented as something that was edutainment. No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a discussion for another topic in and of itself, but yes, I get you.
I mean, it'll certainly give your brain a workout.
True, but
to figure out how you're supposed to do. Sometimes even to figure out what's supposed to be a puzzle.
That is also Myst, but I'm talking about, this wasn't framed as, this will this will be good for your puzzle solving abilities or anything like that. Like, it wasn't being sold like Reader Rabbit.
Yeah, Reader Rabbit.
Right.
Like humongous entertainment games, anything like that.
Yeah. So it was education adjacent. Yeah. But, ultimate point is Myst sold really incredibly well.
To put it lightly, yes.
Riven is the end result of what if we took all the money we made from Myst and put it into the production values of the aid, to get the best that the technology, the pre-rendered assets and the full motion video and everything you could do in 1997, like, which you're still going to hit limits because it's the 90s and still using pre-rendered assets here. So Riven, the remake, Riven 2024 here, sets to do away with all of the 90s accoutrements that beset the original game. As in, it's Unreal Engine 5, full-on 3D world, as opposed to, still images cut and pasted or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've been able to glean, they seem to have done an excellent job, at the very least, recapturing the visual look of Riven, which, I won't say is a monumental feat, but is something that can go awry. We've seen that happen with not just remakes, but remasters as well. Hell, ports can fuck this up.
Mm-hmm.
But to get into the finer points, we go over to Golix, since he was the one who got this due to, being the best candidate.
Well, first off, I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story of the first time that I played a 3D video game, first-person video game, and every other time. Now, what happened when I did that is, first off, I got lost. And it turns out that the reason that I got lost is because I'm not great at noticing pathways if they're not explicitly laid out. And sometimes also I'm not great at noticing what's interactable and what isn't. Those both significantly limited the amount of this game that I was able to play, because I was wandering around trying to figure out what I was supposed to be interacting with. There are some things that are obvious puzzles. There are some things that kind of look like they're puzzles and they're actually not. And there are some things that don't look like they're puzzles, but they actually are.
I mean, that's the Myst experience to me.
Mm-hmm. So, first off, I didn't notice some of the paths that I was... Oh, also, there are a lot of doors that look like they're locked probably, but actually you can just open them if you click on them. The other thing is that because this game is made to be VR compatible, it is playable with a controller, so I tried that. I realized relatively late into my thing that I shouldn't have been doing that, because your cursor, when you mouse over something, will change to show that it's interactable. But when you're in controller mode, your cursor is usually invisible, unless you rest over something that's interactable for a little while. So yeah, at the beginning of the game, this game gives you quite a bit of stuff to listen to before you can do it, and then also you're strongly recommended to read the journal that gets shoved in your satchel, so you have any goddamn clue what's going on, especially if you haven't just played Myst. Because don't get me wrong, this is a direct sequel to Myst. The main characters, I think, are in Myst and are important to it. But yeah, for the first thing, once I figured out the dirt paths that are passable and not, and so one of the first rooms you go to has a bunch of gold scarab beetles on the wall. Those are mostly just exposition. You open them and there's an image in them that you look through. I thought that was a puzzle. It's not. It's mostly just exposition, although you do get an achievement if you stare at them, all of them, for long enough. But that's a puzzle where you have to rotate a room and go back and forth between two ways to get to the room to do things. And that because it's a room with 5 entrances. There are 2 internal doors and like 4 external passages. And 2 of them are blocked off to start with. And of those, like 3 of them have particularly relevant stuff to do. And the one that doesn't has a really interesting looking thing on the end of it. If you're watching, it's in this trailer loop that's going. There's a big black sphere that's rotating at high speed. And there's a little viewfinder thingy to the side of it that does a zoetrope thing that makes it look like an eye is opening and closing vertically and horizontally. This is not something you can do anything with until significantly later in the game, apparently. Likewise, the weird device that's right near the thing that you appear in is something that you have to come back to later. Like much later. Apparently, and then I got to the second island, and I looked around and got lost, and at first I was trying to figure out if there was something I had to do to progress, but I looked at a video guide, and no, there was just a space where I was supposed to turn and go off the path and go into a door that has a portal to a third island almost immediately after that one. So, I guess what I'm saying is, as a structural thing for the game Riven, and this is true in either version, I think, be ready to be looking around and try to figure out what, like, have some things that you need to do something with, but not now, and you have to come back a lot later. I did find, trying to go by a text guide for the original version, that they did change a few things. The locations and functions of a couple of rooms are different, but they're moved to another room that's fairly close by. The solution for one puzzle early gets changed, largely based on the fact that you have a dynamic camera and can now move freely instead of being forced to shift between locales. In the original one, it was a door that you had to like get an alternate viewpoint to and then crawl under. And in this one, you just it's locked and you have to open it by picking the hinge. So yeah, I mean, it's very pretty. It would probably be good in VR if you're the kind of person that VR is good for. Personally, I had some trouble with getting a little bit of the weird VR eye strain headache that I sometimes get, even though I wasn't playing in VR.
Welcome to my hell.
Yeah. I definitely recommend turning on subtitles. They're not on by default. And this is a very talky game. Like, you want to be playing with audio. But even then, it's probably better if you have subtitles. There's dialogue subtitles. There's, like, important sound effect subtitles.
Yeah. This is the one that has the, like, music.
There are sound-based.
Yeah, there are sound,
puzzles.
like, music-based puzzles.
And also sound-based achievements. Or rather, achievements where your hint is a sound thing.
Yeah, that's the thing I really remember about Riven. It's all very sound focused.
Which, yeah, and Myst had this thing too, kind of, where there was a, like, you better have a sound card if you want to play Myst.
I don't remember Myst, but I vaguely remember Riven won't boot if there isn't a sound card installed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Myst, I remember the maze being sound focused. You know, not great in terms of accessibility.
Oh God, no, that's a
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and again, like I said, I'm sorry. I put a decent amount of time into this, but I did not get very far because I got lost.
It's the perils of doing an adventure game. Believe me,
Mm-hmm.
that's happened to me. Not so much getting lost, but getting stuck on a puzzle, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know how to get past this, and you know, there's only so much time I can put into a game.
And yeah, unless the
Right.
dev gave you a walkthrough, you're kind of bound. Like I know at least with Riven, there are a multitude of guides for Riven if you need them. I mean, yeah, apparently they did change some stuff, but
Yeah, you're gonna like there are a few things that you're gonna get confused by, but a lot of the advice, because it's a puzzle game, so several of the like guides on GameFAQs I found, a couple of them are phrased in a way so that they save the actual walkthrough with full spoilers for later. Also, you definitely have to be in an exploratory state of mind. If there's something to look at, you should probably look at it and try to figure out how that, because like one of the first major goals is this big gold dome, and I didn't even notice it because you're supposed to like look through a grate or a peephole to see it, and I didn't realize that that was a thing I was supposed to do, so oops.
indeed.
So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think this is a bad game, but it is a game that gave me a hard time. The music, there's not a whole lot of music because there's a lot of environmental sound stuff. So yeah, what are they charging for this, Adam?
They are charging $34.99, though it's got a 10% discount at $31.49.
Also, this is not, if you know what you're doing, a super long game, apparently.
That's the trick to a lot of point-and-click adventure games. Once you know how to do everything, they can be very short.
Mm-hmm. Like the video guide I found is only about 4 hours. That said, it does look very good. The one thing that I saw in one of the other comments, and I agree, apparently in the original, the cutscenes with people were done with the full motion video. In this one, they are
In engine,
like
in-engine type stuff.
Yeah, in-engine stuff. And I agree that full motion video would have been slightly better because some of the animations, because you don't do a whole lot of dealing with other people in this game, are a little bit clunky. Like when you first arrive, a guard yells at you a bit and then gets stun darted or something. And that animation looked kind of awkward to me. It was very pantomime-y. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm not going to say you shouldn't get this game if you're interested in environmental puzzle games, but do know that a lot of the puzzles are pretty oblique. A lot of the things you can interact with aren't actually puzzles. I'm still wondering what the water spout is for. And some of the puzzles you need to come back to later. So if a puzzle game that has those but is environmentally pretty seems like your thing, this is probably a pretty good version of this game.
Of note, like I joked earlier, you also need to worry about disc swapping.
Yeah, you don't need. Yeah, that's the other one. With their original one's 4 discs. I think they mostly, because you travel to different worlds, they put different worlds on different discs mostly.
Yeah, the original version was 5 discs. Then it got re-released in '98 on a single DVD.
Oh yeah, there is one other thing about the going into free camera instead of whatchamacallem, instead of fixed
HyperCard.
things. This game, especially right off the bat, when you go down a passage and come back the other way, make sure you look around the door, the other side of the door you came in through. Because they put stuff there, and I missed that like 3 times. Stuff that's like next to the frame of the door that I had just come through, I did not see when I was going back through the passage. Yeah, I think that's probably all I got.
Okay, then. So that'll about do it for modern day Riven. Be sure to tune in after the break as we review Neural Shock.